إن هذا لشيء عجاب. وانطلق الملأ منهم أن امشوا واصبروا على آلهتكم إن هذا لشيء يراد ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة إن هذا إلا اختلاق أأنزل عليه الذكر من بيننا بل هم في شك من ذكري بل لما يذوقوا عذاب أم عندهم خزائن رحمة ربك العزيز الوهاب أم لهم ملك السماوات والأرض وما بينهما فليرتقوا في الأسباب جند ما هنالك مهزوم من الأحزاب كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وعاد وفرعون ذو الأوتاد وثمود وقوم لوط وأصحاب الأيكة أولئك الأحزاب إن كل إلا كذب الرسل فحق عقاب وما ينظر هؤلاء إلا صيحة واحدة ما لها من فواق وقالوا ربنا عجل لنا قطنا قبل يوم الحساب اصبر على ما يقولون واذكر عبدنا داود ذا الأيد إنه أواب إنا سخرنا الجبال معه يسبحن بالعشي والإشراق والطير محشورة كل له أواب وشددنا ملكه وآتيناه الحكمة وفصل الخطاب وهل أتاك نبأ الخصم إذ تسوروا المحراب إذ دخلوا على داود ففزع منهم قالوا لا تخف خصمان بغى بعضنا على بعض فاحكم بيننا بالحق ولا تشطط واهدنا إلى سواء الصراط إن هذا أخي له 99 نعجة ولي نعجة واحدة فقال أكفلنيها وعزني في الخطاب قال لقد ظلمك بسؤال نعجتك إلى نعاجه وإن كثيرا من الخلطاء ليبغي بعضهم على بعض إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وقليل ما هم وظن داود أنما فتناه فاستغفر ربه وخر راكعا وأناب فغفرنا له ذلك وإن له عندنا لزلفى وحسن مآب يا داود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله إن الذين يضلون عن سبيل الله لهم عذاب شديد بما نسوا يوم الحساب وما خلقنا السماء والأرض وما بينهما باطلا ذلك ظن الذين كفروا فويل للذين كفروا من النار أم نجعل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كالمفسدين في الأرض أم نجعل المتقين كالفجار كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب ووهبنا لداود سليمان نعم العبد إنه أواب إذ عرض عليه بالعشي الصافنات الجياد فقال إني أحببت حب الخير عن ذكر ربي حتى توارت بالحجاب ردوها علي فطفق مسحا بالسوق والأعناق ولقد فتنا سليمان وألقينا على كرسيه جسدا ثم أناب قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي إنك أنت الوهاب فسخرنا له الريح تجري بأمره رخاء حيث أصاب والشياطين كل بناء وغواص وآخرين مقرنين في الأصفاد هذا عطاؤنا فامنن أو أمسك بغير حساب وإن له عندنا لزلفى وحسن مآب واذكر عبدنا أيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الشيطان بنصب وعذاب اركض برجلك هذا مغتسل بارد وشراب ووهبنا له أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة منا وذكرى
Testing. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our Saturday evening family night here at Saba Live. The program for this evening, inshallah, what we're going to do is we're going to be having some interactive sort of discussions and a competition. But in order to bring about barakah for the event, we're going to first begin with a recitation of the Quran. It's going to take 4 minutes, inshallah. Let's listen to the recitation of Surah Al-Muzammil, and then after that I'll explain what we have in mind for this evening's program.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشية الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا إن لدينا أنكالا وجحيما وطعاما ذا غصة وعذابا أليما يوم ترجف الأرض والجبال وكانت الجبال كثيبا مهيلا إنا أرسلنا إليكم رسولا شاهدا عليكم كما أرسلنا إلى فرعون رسولا فعصى فرعون الرسول فأخذناه أخذا وبيلا فكيف تتقون إن كفرتم يوما يجعل الولدان شيبا السماء منفطر به كان وعده مفعولا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل ونصفه وثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك والله يقدر الليل والنهار علم أن لن تحصوه فتاب عليكم فاقرؤوا ما تيسر من القرآن علم أن سيكون منكم مرضى وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله فاقرؤوا ما تيسر منه وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوه عند الله هو خيرا وأعظم أجرا واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم.
program. Sadaqallahu al-Ali al-Azim wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi al-Tahirin. Okay, what are we going to be doing as part of our program? So, inshallah, I am going to talk for about 5 minutes. That's it. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to be hearing from you. So this is an opportunity for you to, for your voice to be heard on a community platform, and inshallah we're going to be asking some questions and hopefully exchanging some ideas and thoughts from the whole family. And then after that, I have like a Slido quiz prepared for you all, and that should inshallah be something again that the whole family can participate in. In order to be part of this, what I would ask you to do is to go to slido.com and put in Saba in the hashtag, and then you can inshallah join in, because part of this is going to be involving like you're answering questions and kind of giving feedback on different questions that I have for you all. This is the first time we're trying this program, so in a way it's a bit experimental, but the idea is that we're all kind of not able to come to the center, but we have this kind of desire and this sentiment and a need to be able to have the bonds between one another. So what can we do? Well, we try to make the most of whatever we can in order to be able to recreate and strengthen those bonds. That's kind of the purpose behind this program. If you might have like a friend or a family member who doesn't know about it and you want them to also participate so that you can inshallah kind of exchange ideas together and maybe even compete against each other, then give them a call. Just say that, hey, what are you doing? Why don't you log on to the Saba's YouTube channel, and then you can participate as well. Okay, so the topic that I chose to talk about for today is community, and what I want to do is I'd like to share a beautiful tradition from Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam about the importance of community bonds. So there's a hadith in which Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam he speaks to one of the great companions, Abdul Azim al-Hassani, and he tells him, he says that, "O Abdul Azim, send my salam to my followers and tell them, don't let shaitan find a way to overpower you." Now, shaitan can overpower somebody in a number of different ways, but in which way is the Imam alayhi salam concerned about shaitan overpowering the community of believers, his followers, his Shia? So then he goes on to say, "Command them to be truthful when speaking, to fulfill their trusts, to be quiet and avoid needless arguments in what doesn't concern them, and to turn to one another, to visit one another, because that is a way of getting close to me." Meaning, it's a way of getting close to Imam Rida alayhi salam when fellow believers visit one another. "Command them not to ruin one another, because I swear," the Imam alayhi salam is saying, "I swear that whoever does that," whoever does what? Whoever tries to ruin one another, "and whoever angers one of my followers, I will make dua to Allah to punish him with the worst of punishments, and in the hereafter he will be one of the losers." Now this is one of many, many traditions from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam where they talk about the type of bonds that they would like believers to have with one another. And there are so many beautiful teachings regarding how the community should be like. There's du'as that we have from the Ahlul Bayt where they describe, like Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, where they describe how they would like believers to be with one another. So for this hadith, though, this is what I would like to bring up as a point of discussion for you all this evening. The Imam al-Islam says that turn to one another. And you don't turn away from one another. Turn to one another and visit one another, because that is a way of getting close to me. He says that basically command them be truthful when speaking, so that have a truthful type of relationship with one another. And he says, if you anger one another, then I will make dua to punish them with the worst of punishments. So that's what the Imam alayhi salam is saying. That's how important he wants, that he would like to, that's the type of emphasis he would like to have on believers having strong bonds with one another. Now obviously, we have a situation where we can't do things in the normal way. But we still have a community, and we still have a lot of people who care about each other a lot. And even though we can't do the things the way that we would like to, it doesn't mean that we just abandon the whole project altogether. We still have responsibilities towards one another. So at this point, I'm going to turn over the floor to you all. And what I'd like you to do, again, is to join in on slido.com, hashtag Saba. I'm going to put up a poll question here. Okay, so if you go to the live polls, there I'm asking this question: how would you positively, let's talk about the positive aspects first. How would you positively describe the community in just 1 or 2 words? Meaning that if you wanted to put like just a couple of adjectives, maybe 3 words if you want, a couple of adjectives by which you would describe the community, what would you say? So I'm going to wait for some good responses from all the people, inshallah. So if you're tuned in here, then please do respond, because we don't want to be too lonely here. Now you can be talking, if there are people who are joining us from outside of the Bay Area, you can be talking about your community there. You can be talking about your local center community. You can be talking about Saba community, whatever. Just in general, your community, however you understand it. What are some of the key words that come to mind? Okay, I'm starting to see some responses here of some of the positive aspects of the community. Excellent. Okay, so I'm starting to see some beautiful responses here. I'm seeing brotherly, loving, and merciful, relying on one another, beautiful, united, and of course there's the food, and food happens to be right there in the center. Okay, resourceful, compassionate. Okay, these are some, I have 10 responses here. I think I can get some more from all of, there's more than 10 of you who are logged in, isn't there? Okay. All right. So, okay, so that's good. That's a good start. Okay, just getting warmed up here. Okay, and now the next thing I'm going to ask about is, okay, so we have some more here. Connections, home, loving, merciful. So these are some of the positive things about the community. That's awesome. It's important to note that these are the things that people look forward to, that comes to mind first when it comes to the community. Okay, now let's go ahead and, so mostly friendly, somebody says. Okay, now let's go ahead and stop this one. I'm going to start another poll, which is asking a question. It's a multiple choice question. So how close do you think the community is living up to what the Imam has said in the hadith? The Imam is talking about having this, visiting one another. He talks about like not turning away from one another, but facing, meaning they're going towards one another. He talks about being truthful to one another. He talks about like not doing anything to ruin one another. He talks about the importance of not doing anything deliberately to make each other angry. So what would you rate the community when it comes to living up to this hadith? Okay, there's a request to turn up the sound on the microphone if possible. So, so based on the people who have voted so far, if we look at the results of that, we have 45% of the people saying that we still have some work to do. Okay. Oh, actually, so somebody else added. So, okay, now we're about tied. We're about tied, saying that, okay, we're close, but we still need some work to do. So many people are saying, okay, not that close. Now, this, of course, isn't representative of everyone's opinion, just the people who happen to be logged into the live stream today. And if you're watching this afterwards, you can have your own opinion on it. This is not a scientific data survey here. It's just kind of getting a feel, a pulse, based on whoever is logged into the program this evening. Okay, so I'm gonna be closing this poll in just a moment right here, but let me just see if anybody else wants to add anything. Okay, so the results of this one were that we had 46% saying it's close but still needs some work, and 38% saying not that close, and 15% saying far. Okay, so now the next question I have for you is this, that given, okay, so if you go to the ideas section of the Slido interface, there's an idea section there. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you guys to contribute your ideas here. So the question now is this, that given the current situation we're in, where there's health concerns, there's like we can't have gatherings, and there's restrictions and all that, what kind of responsibility do we still have towards one another? Okay, if you can put that into the ideas section right here, what kind of responsibilities do we have towards one another? That's the first question I have, and I have a few more questions for you guys inshallah after that. But it will be based on your responses. So go to the ideas section, and then the question is this, just to repeat, that given the current situation with the COVID and pandemic, what kind of responsibilities do we have towards one another? And by the way, when you give your feedback, you could remain anonymous, but in a way, in order to maybe help the community feel, it might be nice for people to know, that this is somebody and who you are. It's completely up to you, but it's just something where, it kind of helps to know, oh, look, my friend is logged on, and if it was a different sort of situation, we'd be drinking chai together, but instead we're logged into Slido together. Okay, so we have somebody saying checking on each other via phone, message, etc., asking about each other, helping those in need of help. Okay, so if you think about it, that time that we would normally spend in coming to the center programs, participating, right? We should ask ourselves, well, that was time that I'd already set aside to at least connect and be part of the community and to strengthen those bonds. So now that I don't have the venue and the place, well, I still have that time, right? How am I using that time? Okay, and even let's say before, we know that the only thing that it's not just doing our responsibility isn't just showing up at the center. It's about let's say I happen to see my fellow believers once a week in the center. Well, I haven't fulfilled all my responsibilities. The Imam specifically says go and visit one another. So some people are saying keeping each other safe by maintaining distance, but keeping in touch by texting, calling. Some people are saying staying connected online. Some people are saying taking care of those who need to be checked on, the elderly, the new moms, etc. Okay. What do you guys think about the driveway or the patio visits? Is that something that you all are doing? Where you just said, okay, I'm just going to drive by, drop off some food, whatever like that, maintaining that distance. Is that something that you think is safe, it's good? What's your perspective on that? Okay, we still have a responsibility, somebody says, to think about each other, check on one another, and help each other, help others through. Now, if you like one of the responses that you see here, like you're like, yeah, I second that, then what you can do is you can click on the, I think there's a button there for sort of upvoting it, and then it will make it to the top of the list. Now, somebody says here that we used to do these things at the beginning. I think what they're saying, if I'm interpreting correctly, they're saying that we used to do these things at the beginning, but now that it's kind of dragged on, maybe in some cases we're not doing that anymore. We've kind of gone into our cocoons, and we kind of think that, well, okay, I'm I don't have any responsibilities. Well, that's not really the case, right? So somebody says that I think it is safe to have drive-by visits or even park visits when there's a lot of space given to give distance, even walks or bike rides. I happen to agree with you. I think that's something where, of course, we want to be safe, but it doesn't mean that, okay, that's it, we don't see each other. Trying to maintain community feel by sharing pictures, dropping off food to each other, sending videos of our kids, small things that keep us connected. That's really good, I hope that inshallah we can do those sorts of things. Anybody else? Supporting each other by asking how we can help anyone no matter what religion they follow. Okay, excellent. Now, next question I have for you is this. So it seems that when those of you who were logged on and you were listening to the hadith of Imam Rida alayhi salam, it seems that there's a general feeling that there's room to improve in this area. In order to be able to bring ourselves and the community closer to the ideal that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have described for us, we need to do some work. Okay, so practically speaking, what do you think can be done? Because we want to walk away with this not just with big sort of big ideas, but not having a practical agenda. What can actually be done in order to bring the community closer to what the Ahlul Bayt would want it to be like? What do you guys think? So, any feedback? Any ideas? What can be done to help the community? What is our responsibilities towards bringing it closer to what the Ahlul Bayt would like it to be like? Okay, so one person says have a Zoom meeting weekly with a small group. This is very interesting, very important. The idea that, we do in many cities in the United States, at least, here in the Bay Area, we tend to be in larger communities. Now, within that larger community, we do have, some smaller circles. It's not a bad idea that that we try to keep maybe in touch with them even more regularly, just so that that's that feeling. Otherwise, we might just be kind of lost in the big sea, the big crowd. So that's one idea is having that. On the other hand, somebody says that we don't want to be forming these type of cliques, right? And the idea of welcoming new people, that's very important, because when you have a larger community, then somebody who's coming in from the outside, everyone kind of just assumes they're taken care of by somebody else. I've personally lived in Shia communities, Muslim communities, which have been small size, have been medium size and large size, and there's a huge difference, right? When you're in a smaller community, then it's like a family. In a large community, you have a lot more resources, you can do a lot more, but then you kind of feel drowned and you feel lost, and sometimes you just don't feel like coming back again, right? So this is something that we need to be considering, and we need some ideas. Okay, having Zoom sessions for kids around the same age, led by community members. I was thinking about this, that we have a lot of children who probably could use some type of feeling of being linked to fellow believers, right? I mean, it's something which is very important as part of their identity, that they should feel they're not alone. So what can we do to create that type of feeling? And this is an idea that somebody has put forth, like a Zoom session for kids around the same age. Thank you for that. Okay, cahoots with the community. Maybe add a prize, like a walk with Maulana or a small Amazon prize. So I had heard a couple of the cahoots that were happening in the month of Ramadan, and they seem like a lot of fun. My kids were actually like, even though we were in the East Coast, we were tuning in. They were having a lot of fun with that. So I think that's something which definitely, I think they're thinking about doing that. Inshallah, this will be motivation for them to actually then go ahead and set that up. Okay, any other ideas of what can we do to kind of bring our community more in lines with what the Ahlul Bayt wanted? And then inshallah, I'm going to be moving to the next part of the program, which is an interactive like competition quiz sort of thing. I don't have the Amazon prize for you guys, but I can ask Maulana Abid if he's up for the walk. Okay, good examples that others are doing or other communities are doing. Somebody says more broad social groups. Okay, learn true knowledge and apply it. This is something that I really would. I'm going to highlight that. Let's see if I highlight it. Then what happens? It goes to the top. Oh, okay. I'll highlight it because I'm talking about it right now. All right. Does it go to the top there too? Cool. All right. I'm learning how to use this right now. So, one of the profound teachings that we have from the Ahlul Bayt is like what are our responsibilities and duties towards fellow believers, and sometimes those things where initially they look a little bit unattractive. Like for example, oh, I have to like go and like let's say cook food for somebody, or I have to go and like ask about somebody. I have to go and like let's say, help others, and I have to take out time from my busy schedule. But then, what's going to happen when we start to realize how important these things are and how much they help the person who's doing them? Then we start to change our perspective. When we talk about like growing closer to Allah, somebody can grow by leaps and bounds by being at service to fellow human beings. So this is something very important that it's if we can learn this type of knowledge and apply it, particularly when it comes to community. Okay, so I'm going to unhighlight, I'm going to restore that back to where it was. And then somebody says here, can we have community members make masks and send them to essential workers or even low-income schools, something we can do as a community effort? Do we have any such efforts? Maybe if I'm pretty sure that there are community members who are working on such things, and if you know of something, then please do go ahead and share that with us. I'd like to know. But I mean, that sounds like an amazing idea to me. Weekly meetings, group reading of Quran, Hadith, and a book. These can be very, very good, very effective, and everyone is in need of this. Everyone is in need of weekly meetings, of gaining knowledge of Islamic brotherhood and sisterhood. Am I asking specifically during the COVID times or in general? Actually, I was asking about in general. Before I was asking about the COVID time. Right now I'm asking in general. In general, when you look at our community, whatever community you're part of, if you see that you're falling short from the ideals of the Ahlul Bayt, what is it that needs to be done? What are some ideas that you have? Okay, I'm going to, inshallah, hear from you guys for about 2 minutes or so, and then inshallah we're going to move on to the competition. But this is some interesting ideas here, and I appreciate some of you changing, giving your name as well, to being brave enough to do that, because now I know who you are actually. Okay, let's see. So we have a brother saying, many community members have common questions. Perhaps having more on-demand workshops would be helpful. For example, legality of different kinds of investing. Okay, that's good. That's a good part, and that fits into the idea of learning. Okay, and then we have somebody saying about how being mindful of how we act and talk to others. Be conscious that our Imam is watching us and waiting for us. Okay, this is very important. Like this hadith that I shared with you, it was from Imam Rida alayhi salam. He was the Imam of that time, and this is the message he has for his Shias. Now that's the same message that our Imam has for us as well too. These are the things which can really pain the Imam of the time, and it starts with the way we treat our families, and then it extends there to how is it that we interact with others. I know people who have disavowed centers. I'm just generally speaking here. They've disavowed centers because of one negative experience that they had in that center. One type of bad akhlaq that was done to them. Not even deliberately, but they felt so bad, they're like, okay, I'm never going to come back again. No, that's not right? Because, that's not really realistic to say that everyone's going to be like, as if it's in heaven or anything. But I just want to share that just to like highlight how important it is for us to be watchful. And I thank Sister Layla for offering that reminder to us. Okay, excellent. So thank you so much for these ideas. I'm going to come back and probably ask you one question after the competition before we end up. But I do want to move on to the competition part. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to please sign into our quiz. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and activate the quiz. So you should be able to sign in the live polls section. Try to use your name if you can, if you don't mind, so we know kind of who you are. And it's okay, it's not, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wins or not. It's just nice to see, like, people put some name to the anonymous bodies, otherwise that would be out there. Okay, so go ahead, please. I'm looking for people. If you're at home, then and you're there with your family, it's based on experiences we had in the month of Ramadan, it was fun for the whole family to participate, for each one to be on their own device, and for there to be some competition amongst each other. Sometimes you'll be surprised how the children do better than the adults even. So let's see here. Okay, and the topics are going to be about different things, inshallah. So we'll see. Okay, I'm looking for a few more participants, and we're going to, inshallah, launch our quiz here. Can we make it to 20? We made it to 10. Oh yes, we have 11 now. But one thing I would ask is that, like, when the question comes up, don't Google the answer, okay? Because that's not really fair. Then just go based on like whatever it is, that knowledge that you already have. Okay, and this is about learning. Okay, so before I start the quiz, we're gonna first play an ayah of the Quran. And the first question is going to have to do with that ayah from the Quran. So if you can please listen carefully, even if you don't know Arabic, like, you're not an Arabic speaker, you probably do know like some of the main vocabulary of the Quran. And the question is going to have to do with that, but particularly related to this verse that you're about to hear right now. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ليشهدوا منافع لهم ويذكروا اسم الله في أيام معلومات على ما رزقهم من بهيمة الأنعام فكلوا منها وأطعموا البائس الفقير.
Okay. I got the thumbs up that it's done. Okay, so I hope you heard that well. If you didn't hear it well, guess what? We're going to play it one more time for you. But then right after that, I'm going to go ahead and start the quiz. So make sure that you're alert, aware, and then you'll be able to answer the questions. Now, I do want to say that the faster you answer the question, the more points you can get. But there's also a risk of not, being fooled and kind of answering the question without thinking about it properly. So do answer it carefully, but also quickly as well. So one more time. Got it? Okay, just be with you in just a second. Just going to try to play the ayah one more time. Okay, that's no problem. I'll go ahead and read it myself then, okay? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ليشهدوا منافع لهم ويذكروا اسم الله في أيام معلومات على ما رزقهم من بهيمة الأنعام فكلوا منها وأطعموا البائس الفقير صدق الله العلي العظيم. So with that now, I'm going to go ahead and activate our quiz. The quiz consists of 7 questions. Okay? So, Bismillah. In the verse you just heard, what does Allah tell us to do in the ayyam ma'lumat, the known days? Okay, so we now, oh, it looks like this was a tough question because we have like people kind of divided. The correct answer here is remember his name, okay? And the verse said, وَيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. Ism means name, يَذْكُرُ means to remember, so it's remembering Allah's name in ayyam, the known days, which according to the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt is when the actual Hajj is being done. Okay, so now that is the first question. We're going to move on to the next question here, which is in the dua Imam Ali used to recite 10 times a day for the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. How many times does he repeat the words La ilaha illallah? Now if you happen to read that email that was sent out to the Saba list about kind of recommended amal, and this would be like a cinch for you. But I'm sure that you already are all doing it, so you probably are aware what the answer is. Let's see. Okay, so the correct answer is 10, and most of you got that. So he's 10 times he says La ilaha illallah adad al-layali wa duhur, La ilaha illallah adad al-majum duhur. There's 10 times La ilaha illallah is mentioned. There's 10 tahleel, it's 10 La ilaha illallah. But there he's reminding us of how we can see Tawheed in every aspect of the universe, like even in the pebbles on the ground, even in the hairs and on people's head and the fur on animals, even in the changing of the day and the night, even in the winds that blow through the rocks. Like all of these are signs of Allah. It's a very profound and beautiful dua about seeing the whole world around us as signs of Allah. The next question is the day of Tarwiyah, where pilgrims of Hajj typically wear the ihram of Hajj and make their niyyah, is which day of Dhul Hijjah? Okay, so the correct answer here is the 8th day. The 8th day is where this is done, and then people are now making their way to Arafah. Okay, and the next question is about Tarwiyah itself. Well, the day of Tarwiyah was called the day of Tarwiyah because it has to do with what? What is the reason for why it's called Tarwiyah? Okay, so tarwiya actually comes from, well, one of the meanings of it is to when you water something, when you irrigate something, or when you collect water. And the reason is because the Arafat, it's very dry there. So the pilgrims, what they would do is they would store up water and they would take it with them. So this is the day where they would sort of be filling their water skins. So the correct answer here is saving and storing water. This was a tough question, okay? Of course, making a lot of dua is good and gathering provisions is fine, but this is the reason why it was called tarwiya itself. All right, so now we are on to the fifth question, which is again having to do with the special 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. The reward mentioned in hadith for reciting the special prayer for the first 10 nights of this month between Maghrib and Isha is which of the following? So there's a special salah. It's very simple, very straightforward. You say Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Ikhlas, and then you recite one verse of the Quran, وَوَاعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً, and so on and so forth to the end. And you repeat that again in the second rak'ah. It takes like 3 minutes. Okay, and what is the reward for having done this? So whether there's a pandemic or there isn't a pandemic, you can still recite a 2 rak'ah prayer between Maghrib and Isha. And the correct answer here is the reward of performing Hajj, exactly. Okay, so after 5 questions, let's take a look at our leaderboard here. And we have, okay, great. So we have Brother Mason at 4 out of 5 points and Asad at 4 out of 5 points. And then we have a couple of people at 3. And then we have a number of you at 2 out of 5. And alhamdulillah, I'm glad that for every may Allah reward you for participation. We still have 2 questions left. So let's see what can happen. A lot can change after 2 questions. All right, so the one question is related to ahkam, and one question is about general events that are taking place. So this next question is this, that does a man have to recite the surahs out loud with a voice in Fajr and Maghrib Salah? So which of the following is true? Okay, so this seems like it was a bit tricky. So the answer here is that of course, yes, for a man it's wajib. Okay, for a man, any boy, any man who's baligh, a man from anyone who's come of age, just whispering the surahs is not going to work. They have to actually recite it with a voice. Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. Dhuhr and Asr, of course, it's to be done with the whisper, but for a male, it's Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. It has to be done with a voice. For sisters, of course, the same requirement isn't there. It's fine for them to whisper it. Okay, and the last question is based on current events. A few days ago, a plane flying here, meaning over this area, was forced to make a dangerous move that led to several passengers being severely injured because of being followed by a U.S. fighter jet. Now, there's an acquaintance of somebody I know who was on that flight, and this was so severe that they actually their head struck the top of the airplane when they were inside, and it seems like it was they were majorly injured, severely injured because of this, and it might lead to long-term implications for them. We pray for for them being healed, but it's not just a minor event here. Okay, so the correct answer here was Syria. Okay, it was a flight that took off from Tehran, but it was then forced, after this happened, it was forced to land in Beirut, and then it made its way back to Tehran. Okay, so this is a very sad event that took place. So after 7 questions, we look at our leaderboard here, and we have Brother Asad at 6 hours. Congratulations, Brother Asad. Then we have Brother Mason, and then we have Home, and Sister Liliana and Sister Leila in 3rd place, and then we have a number of you in the 4th and other places. Okay, excellent. So finally, I just wanted to get your feedback. Okay, so I'm going to put up one other poll here, which asks you to rate your experience of participating in this evening's family night. Just give your feedback. Let's just see. Obviously we want our programming to be useful, worthwhile, beneficial. So inshallah, we can first get that. And then I'm going to ask you for specifically what kind of ideas you have for improving it. Given what we have, right? We don't, I'm not going to juggle or kind of do live Zoom performances. I do what I do. So given what we have, what is it that we can do, inshallah? So, okay, great. So thank you for your feedback there. Now, this last thing is if we can go back to the ideas. And let me just get your suggestions. Within what's reasonable, what can we do? Tell me, for example, you'd like to discuss these issues or this format, or you'd like to have it be done this way. Please, this is really this is a platform that we have, and the idea is that to hear other voices. Let me hear your ideas. So please go ahead and add that into the ideas section in Slido. So once again, the question is, what can we do for these family nights in order to improve them as we go forward? So topics that you would like to see discussed, format. So I'm putting this one up here. I'm going to highlight this one. Thanks for this. Perhaps similar style with themes, maybe rotating topics like social, Quran, practice, and history. That's one idea. If you like that idea, then you can go ahead and upvote it. If you don't, then don't. What else? What other ideas? Okay, so somebody says it would be good to have a small blurb sent out about what may be covered in your events, helps to support which kids should get on and which ones not to. Sure. We tried to give just an idea, a preview of the type of things that we would do. But if we can maybe mention a bit about the topic, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. What else? Okay, so somebody says this was fun, but a platform let me put it up here. Okay, somebody says discussion of current events. Okay, so thank you, Ali Raza. And then somebody said it's fun, but they would prefer a platform like Kahoot. Somebody says Maw'idha. Okay, somebody says maybe allow people to call in and ask questions, add more aspects to the live event like pictures or short clips, add more competition. I'm also very much kind of inviting you to help out here. So if because some of these things are like pictures and short clips, that's where it's really interesting, but also it becomes time consuming. So if you're interested in helping out with this, then please do contact us and see and say this is how I feel like I can help with these type of things too. But thanks for the idea, though. I appreciate that. Okay, the Naqvis say please also put the verse recited in the question. Please also add image-based questions for kids' engagement. We can try to do more images. Again, there's a time issue, but inshallah, if you have particular images you think that would work for that, then please do contact us. My email is salim.yusufali@saba-idc.org. That's one way you can contact me. Okay, and was there any other ideas? Let me just see. Let's go through one more time. Okay. That's one idea I highlighted, and then we have another idea here about it'd be valuable to try to figure out and organize opportunities for the earlier ideas of serving the vulnerable in our community and areas. Definitely, and that's something that I'm hoping that inshallah we can discuss. Probably, this is not probably the best platform to discuss, like in terms of like actually how to do it, but at least, like we can try to find, where is that right platform, maybe among the youth of the community or in the management, the OMC. Inshallah, we can perhaps bring that up. And then there's a suggestion here about stories about prophets and deriving lessons from them. Okay, and again, if you like these ideas, Quranic parables and practical life topic, critical thinking, if you like these ideas, then make sure you upvote them. I'll go back and I'll check in. Okay, allow people to call in and answer questions. That would be kind of interesting, like a call-in show, like, the hotline type of thing. Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So with that, thank you very much. I will, if you have some other idea you want to put in, I will check this a little bit later, inshallah. But for now, I think that, alhamdulillah, we thank Allah Ta'ala for this opportunity. We pray that Allah Ta'ala accepts all of our efforts. And we pray that He gives us that strength and the patience needed to be able to face the difficulties that we're facing and to be able to pass the tests that are being presented to us. We pray that He hastens the reappearance of the Imam of our time, Ajallahu Farjahu Sharif, and that He gives us the tawfiq to dedicate our lives towards preparing for His reappearance. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin.